Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 15th of November 2024. So last weekend we took a little trip down to the West Country. Lorraine and I did, to see her cousin and family, and yeah, we had a pleasant afternoon and evening, went for a few drinks, had a pizza at an Italian restaurant there in their town, and it was really good. But one thing I remember during the height of the nonsense was I think Lorraine got a couple of messages from her cousin saying that, basically saying, why haven't we had our things in the arms yet? And she seemed in her messages to be quite cross about our whole stance on the whole thing. And we haven't actually seen them for 5 years, or very nearly 5 years. Last time we saw them was for a family funeral down there when we all got together, obviously for that, and that was in December 2019, so very nearly 5 years. So when we went and saw them, I was quite interested to see what her views on the whole thing in the arm was going to be. And it was quite interesting because the upshot of it is she and her husband, I think as well, had the first two of them, and they suffered so badly from them that they didn't have any more. So it just goes to show you, doesn't it, that even people who were fully on board with the whole thing back then aren't. And I know there's still a lot of people still going for the things unbelievably and inexplicably, but I think they're really only older people now, probably people kind of 60 and above. These two are in their 50s, early to mid 50s. So, I think people of that kind of age and younger basically just aren't listening to the propaganda anymore. They've made their decision. They might have listened to it all and had the first one or two or three even, but they're certainly not having all of the latest iterations now. So that was quite interesting, and it just goes to show you that people who went and had them at the start would now be considered to be anti-V by the powers that shouldn't be. So that was a very interesting little conversation there. And why am I talking about this? Well, you've probably seen the big news from the States. Trump has announced that RFK is going to be his health secretary, and you may have different opinions depending on who you are. I know some of my viewers love Trump and love RFK, and others think they're just controlled opposition or whatever. But I personally welcome the news, and to give it kind of a UK perspective, the only kind of parallel I can see with this would have been if the Reform Party had taken on Andrew Bridgen when he was forced out of the Conservative Party, and then if which they should have done, to be honest with you, and then if the Reform Party had won our election a few months ago and appointed Andrew Bridgen as our health minister, that was really the comparison you could draw. And it's really like having someone in our camp in the centre of government, basically going on about all of the stuff that we've been talking about for the last 4 years. It's an absolutely incredible turnaround, and you might, again, with the whole sort of Reform Party and the Andrew Bridgen thing, again, I know I've got viewers who aren't convinced by those either. But I tell you what, having that scenario would be a heck of a lot better than what we have right now with the Labour government. And same goes in America. I mean, Trump as president, no matter what you think of him, and having RFK as health secretary, no matter what you think of him, is a heck of a lot better than having Kamala as president, having a continuation of all the woke and globalist agenda, and having some person who 100% believes in, you know, big pharma as health secretary, which would have happened had she got in. So I'm going to take this as good news, to be honest with you, and I think it is going to wake up a lot of people who are perhaps kind of half awake or quarter awake, as Lorraine's cousin is, and even quite a few who are still fast asleep. They're going to think, well, hang on a minute. Trump has appointed this guy who is very much against things that go in arms. Why has he done that? And spoiler alert, and unlike what the BBC would tell you, no, it's not because the entire American population, or 50-60% of it at least, has gone absolutely mad and crazy. It's because they've woken up, they've seen the facts, not the facts presented to them by previous governments and mainstream media, but the real facts, who where they found out that from people like RFK and books he's written, and books that a lot of other very learned, very knowledgeable people have written as well, and various other kind of platforms and things where you can get, shall we say, somewhat different from mainstream perspectives and narratives. And just going back to the whole Trump thing, one thing I've heard from more than one source, from probably about 3 or 4 sources, is how on earth can the American electorate elect a president who is a convicted criminal? What I would say to that is these charges that he was supposedly convicted on, and this is not a pun, were trumped up charges. What happened with those is his political enemies, the Democrats and others, cooked up these charges and brought them against him, and the courts, controlled again by his political enemies, found him guilty. And the clue that the whole thing was a fit up and totally fixed should be in the fact that he was convicted on whatever it was, 34, 35 different charges, I think it was. And the clue there should be that he was found guilty on all 34 of them, because normally what happens is if someone's got a load of charges against them, they're sort of found guilty on some of them, they're found innocent on others, other charges are dropped, they're acquitted on yet more of them, and in the end, out of maybe say 20, they're convicted on 4 or 5 of them. That's what normally happens. So the fact that he was convicted on all, or found guilty on all 34 of those charges should give you a clue, I would have thought, that the whole thing was a load of nonsense. And the reason why the Americans voted for him was because they saw through that nonsense for what it was. Just a load of political manoeuvring. The American public weren't having any of it, and so they voted Trump, and that explains that whole thing, I hope. And I think really, if you dig deep enough on any of these people, you can find stuff to take people to court on, on pretty much anyone, because if you get to the state where or the position where it's likely you could become Prime Minister of this country or President of the United States, someone very high up, there is going to be some dirt somewhere that can be thrown at you. And normally what happens is, well, you better toe the line because we've got this on you. And if you don't cooperate, we're going to make your life very difficult with court cases and criminal convictions and everything. And we're going to throw those at you. And Trump obviously said, well, yeah, bring it on then. I don't care. And that's where those charges and so-called convictions came from. But they could have quite easily done the same with Kamala Harris over here. Yeah, they could have done the same with Keir Starmer. They've all got stuff on them, and anything, well, that kind of thing can happen to any of them. So, and I think it's, perhaps to Trump's credit that he did call their bluff. And I think the reason why he called their bluff and just let it all happen was because he knew that unlike a few years ago where the American public would have said, oh, hang on a minute, better not vote for this bloke because he's got all these criminal convictions now. Well, they know the game. There's enough people awake over there that they know what the game is, and they've seen through it, and they're not going to have it. They're just going to vote for the person they think is most likely to sort of get the country back to where they want it to be, regardless of all of these shenanigans. So I think that is an explanation of what happened there. And is Trump perfect? No. Do I like the bloke? Not particularly, but there again, my stance on that. I don't really like any politician. Do I think he's controlled opposition? Maybe. Do I think it's a good thing that he's in power, or shortly, hopefully, about to come to power, along with RFK? Well, certainly having people on our side in very, very senior positions of power in the world, and who are going to be hopefully spreading the stuff that we know about and the stuff that we've been talking about for years now. Well, I'm going to say for now it's a good thing. I could change my mind on that in a year's time, in a few years' time. Who knows? I guess time will tell. But I am certainly looking forward to RFK coming out with a few home truths, and the whole mainstream media just aren't going to be able to ignore the stuff that an American health secretary has to say, are they? They're just not going to be able to bury it, and it's going to come out to pretty much everyone out there, and hopefully we're going to be seeing the likes of you and me, not as crazy conspiracy theorists in the future, but as people who really knew what the score was right from day one and weren't afraid to speak out about it, weren't afraid to sort of be demonized. And, hopefully we're going to be vindicated when RFK starts hitting the world with his truth bombs. So, going to leave it there. Back soon. Tim from Fair Play Now. Thanks for watching.